I've lightly sanded a little bit where it's dry, some of it's not dry. So while we wait for it to dry, I'm gonna start prepping to trim out these windows. And before we do that, we need to go back to Dayton, buy some wood, and then go to my shop and dimension these boards. I really like the look of a Craftsman style trim. I don't know if that goes with this cabin or not, but there's no rules out here, so that's what I'm gonna do. I spent about 2 hours calculating board foot and making all kinds of measurements and planning, so hopefully this goes smoothly. I'm at Outdoor Living Group in Moraine, Ohio. This place is like being a kid in a candy store. This is just another reason I think Dayton is the greatest city in the world, possibly even all of Ohio. My list makes no sense to me. It's been a half hour since I made it. I don't know what it means. I'm just gonna have to buy a crap load of wood. Look at this, even the front desk in here, it's super fancy. This is Quartersawn Sycamore. That is so nice looking. Look at all this, it just keeps going. So what do we got here?
Alright, so basically I run a LT15 wide, so it's a manual mill. Definitely pushing this from the wrong side, but it's got a 36-inch cutting capacity. I can do 17 foot long, and someday I might add an additional track to bump it up to like 25 feet or so. Basically everything I mill comes off this guy right here. Heck, last night I was milling this walnut. So this here will go in the kiln about a month, maybe less, I don't know, we'll see what happens. And then most of all of this is waiting to go in the next kiln load as well. So I'm doing a big load of pretty much exclusively slabs.
This is an impressive operation.
It's what I can do by myself. You know, it's wood's like whiskey. It takes time to mature.
I like that. I like that. If you're anywhere near Dayton, Ohio, come see Barrett. He'll hook you up with some good stock. This thing is awesome. Okay, we're back in my workshop in Dayton, Ohio. Let's get started. Actually, my workshop's a mess. Let's go to a better workshop. Okay, now we're in a better shop. I recently moved 3 years ago and I still haven't set up my shop, but this is the shop of BNG Dayton. I'm gonna put a link to some of his Instagram and Facebook stuff. He makes some cool stuff. All right, let's get started. Okay, so we've got this Fine Home Building magazine article by Tucker Windover that I'm gonna use. And generally this is what I do for almost all my stuff. I'm not really good at coming up with looks or designs myself. So really I find a look that I like and then I kind of duplicate it with my own twist to it. So in this case, I'm not really worried about the dimensions or the thickness of the boards. I'm really just going for the general look from the article, and then I'm going to tweak it so that I think it scales well with these windows. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is cut all of our pieces to the approximate size on the circular saw, or on the chop saw. Okay, now we're going to use the jointer and we're going to make two edges of the board flat. So now we got two sides of this board flat, this side and this side. So what we can do is we can run it through the table saw with this flat side against the fence, and that will get this side parallel to it. And then we've got this flat side. We can run this through the planer face down, and that will make this side parallel to this side. Okay, now that we've done that, we're gonna take the board and we're gonna use the table saw and we're gonna put the jointed edge against the fence, and then we're gonna rip the board and get it to our final size. Now that we've done that, we're gonna take it and run it through the planer. All right, so we got 4 side rails done. Now we're gonna move on to the aprons, which is the board that goes on the bottom. We need 2 of those. And then the stool, which is what most people refer to as the sill. Okay, so now I got the stool and the apron done. So now we got the fillet, the frieze and the cap on there. All the boards are 3/4 inches thick except for the stool and the cap, which are 1 inch thick. The fillet and the cap protrude out about 1/4 inch on either side from the frieze. The stool goes out about 1 inch on each side from the side rails. The apron is the same width as the side rails. And again, there's no hard fast measurements on these. You just got to look at them and see if it looks right to you. And then some of the things that you can do to add interest is changing the thicknesses of the boards. Like if I wasn't going to have a fillet, then I would probably make the frieze maybe 1 inch thick instead of 3/4. All right, and I've just laid this out on the work table to route it up here because I have a very bad habit of routing edges that were not meant to be routed if I don't lay it out so I can see it visually. So I must have 4 other routers besides this, but this Bosch Colt trim router is in 90% of the cases the one that I reach for. All right, we got that all routed. We're gonna do the same for the other window, and then we're gonna put a finish on these things. So those planer and joiner both have spiral cutter heads, and they leave a really good finish. So I'm gonna just hit this really quick by hand with some 150, some 240, and some 400 sandpaper. Not really going to spend too much time on it because it's already a pretty good finish and it's for a rough cabin. Kind of taking the harsh machine edge that the router leaves and just softening it a little bit. Nobody will notice that except for me, but it makes me feel better. This board right here is an apron, and it has some insect marks that leave these little black dots and there's holes in them. Someone else might reject this board. I think it looks really cool. We're gonna finish them with a 1:1:1 ratio of boiled linseed oil, varnish, and turpentine. The last time I bought ash, I paid $1 a board foot. Now it's $2.50. So all of this, enough for 2 windows and this one board right here, cost $67. So a lot of these, we weren't able to find all quarter sawn and rift sawn. So a lot of these would be considered inferior boards. And ironically, those are the ones that usually have the most visual interest. And the downside is they're just more susceptible to movement, like cupping, bowing. I've just buffed this frieze, and it's really looking good. It's toning down the sheen, but it's bringing out the grain. Very happy with how it's looking so far. Okay, so this is looking pretty good with 1 coat, and we'll check back in once we've done 2 coats. All right, so that's 2 coats. So we're gonna let this dry and then do a little bit of initial assembly and then get back to the cabin and put it on the windows. So I'm super frustrated right now. I could have swore that I brought a paint roller. Like I brought naps, but I didn't bring the actual, brush handle thing, whatever you call it. I want to prime and paint this before I put this trim up so I don't have to cut it in around it. If I had brought the paint roller, I would probably stay here and finish, but since I don't have it, I'm just gonna go home and come back another day and finish this and just release this video even later than I wanted to. All right, hi everyone. I'm back here. Today's a different day, and this time I brought a helper, so this should go much faster. Wow, that went smooth. All right, now that that's done, we're gonna finally get these windows trimmed. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is line these up so the outside edges are even with this. And this is an example where plumb is more important than level. So when I put these boards up here, I'm just gonna make sure that this edge is level with is plumb with this inside window. Okay, so I got this lined up down here, and now I'm just eyeballing right here to make sure that that looks pretty good. All right, now I'm just eyeballing over here, and then just eyeballing it with this, and that looks pretty good. Move this in a little bit, and just, move that top over. And what I've got is I've cut little pieces of trim that are going to fill in there. Now I'm really glad that I assembled this beforehand in the shop, because I don't have to mess with it right now. Just trying to line that up and check over here. And so it's a tiny bit off, not enough to really pick up on, so I'm going to split the difference and just move it a tiny bit. And just going to nail this in. Let's check it out. Okay, so my initial thoughts are that it looks okay, but the frieze look a little bit awkwardly big for some reason in this room. Maybe because it's how close it is to the ceiling. So, you know, that's not enough for me to redo it, but, you know, lesson learned for the next time. I might be being too picky there, but that's just my initial thoughts. All right, let's do this window. I purposefully saved my favorite pieces of wood for this window because this is the window you see when you enter the room. So all the cool looking, actually lower grade of wood, but it has this cool grain features, are gonna go on this wall. I'm gonna put a nail here just so that I know where to shoot my nails into. I was kind of guessing on the other window here. Okay, lining this up. Grab that and make sure it hit wood. I'm running this air compressor off my inverter. It's kind of cool, I didn't have to haul my generator down here. I picked up a new air compressor on clearance at Menards, and it only takes 3.2 amps of AC. Alright, give him a ladder. Yeah, my initial thoughts are that it looks better on this wall with the more white space above. To me, it still scales a little bit big for the size of the window. I almost think maybe slightly narrower here, a little bit smaller. Might look better in this small room, but all in all, I'm super happy with how it looks. And I love the wood. I love the way the wood looks against the alabaster color walls. It's Sherwin-Williams alabaster. So yeah, pretty good. I'm pretty excited about this. I think it's looking good.